Hi, everybody. This is Lee, and I'm commenting on Bernie Sanders' comments on the Republican Party and how they're no longer the party of Eisenhower. I can go as far as to say that the Republican Party is definitely not the party of Abraham Lincoln any longer, and definitely not Eisenhower. And I can even go so far as to say that they're not even the party of Richard Nixon, and not the party of Ronald Reagan. That today Ronald Reagan would be considered a moderate Democrat, a centrist Democrat. He would be Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or Hillary Clinton or something. That's you know the person that people hold in high esteem. That the Republican Party has gone so far right and extreme that Ronald Reagan wouldn't even recognize it anymore. That's how far out in left field the Republican Party has gone. That they're not, they're so far out from where they used to be that they're circling Mars. They're orbiting Mars right now. And so Bernie Sanders is commenting on that. Hopefully trying to bring them back to Earth, I guess, back to reality. And so for the millennium voters or the millennial voters or the even the Generation X voters, those who have at the back of their mind like, yeah, I'm not a liberal, I'm not a Democrat, and I kind of see some things wrong, but what can I do? It's just a way to provide clarity and focus on what things should be. A goal to have of how to reorient the Overton window back to a common sense setting. Right now, it's so extreme, it's so far to the right, it just doesn't even make sense anymore. That's the ridiculousness that we see. We've got people saying crazy things, getting on television just saying crazy things, and then people clapping their hands like, you go, boy. Okay, well, but let's see what Bernie, you heard what I had to say about, let's see what Bernie Sanders says. This is a press release at his website. It doesn't have a date, but he's talking about the how the Republican Party is not the party of Eisenhower, the Eisenhower Republican Party versus today's Tea Party Republicans, who I guess grew from the Libertarians and then they infiltrated the Republican Party, and things just got crazier than they had already been. But anyway, he says, Bernie Sanders, that in 1956, under Eisenhower's administration, that the Republican Party used to brag about their support for workers. The federal minimum wage has been raised for more than 2 million workers, they said. They wanted to extend protection of the federal minimum wage laws to as many workers as possible and practicable. And that they also were proud to state that Social Security has been extended to an additional 10 million workers and the benefits raised for 6.5 million. And that today there are attacks by members of the Republican Party on minimum wage. That there are attacks also on Social Security. In fact, that they want to abolish Social Security, some of them definitely cut it and suppress the minimum wage. Also, the Republican Party platform pledged that it would work to assure equal pay for equal work, regardless of sex, and that today, or actually last year, members of the Republican Party in the Senate actually voted against the Paycheck Fairness Act, which would have assured equal pay for equal work. So things have changed. There's more that under Eisenhower there was protection of unemployment insurance, and that has been brought to 4 million additional workers. The Republican Party bragged about that. And that today they want to end unemployment benefits to hundreds of thousands of Americans. And that there was also pride taken in their support of unions, saying that unions have grown in strength and responsibility and have increased their membership by 2 million. And that the Republican Party said the protection of the right of workers to organize into unions and to bargain collectively is the firm and permanent policy of the Eisenhower administration. And that today that there is attacks by Republican governors and then other lawmakers who want to attack the right to organize and weaken the unions. and that they want to, and the Republican Party also bragged that Republican action created the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare as the first new federal department in 40 years. And that today the Republican Party wants to abolish the U.S. Department of Education. And so things are just different. That's today's Republican Party is not even the Republican Party from 20 years ago. Definitely under Ronald Reagan, definitely not the same as the Republican Party under Nixon. Under Nixon, we had the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency. And again, today's Republicans are attacking that. We have the Roe v. Wade decision. Republican parties of today are attacking that. And that Dwight Eisenhower actually spoke about military defense spending, saying that it was killing, defense spending was killing the future of our children. And then today's Republican Party is even more eager to send more money into military defense spending at the cost of social services. That Eisenhower was actually concerned about the lack of housing, the lack of clothing, the fact that people can't eat, and that today's Republican Party, specifically the Trump tax plan, that it's an attack on healthcare, that it's an attack on food assistance programs, Medicaid, things like this. And so there's different things happening. Bernie Sanders has a quote that I found on Facebook, even saying that in 1952, again, in the mid part of the 20th century, that corporations actually paid about 33% of the federal revenue tax that would generate 33% of the federal revenue, and that today it's just 9%. And that there's been so many tax cuts and so many benefits and giveaways to the corporations. And so perhaps that explains quite a bit of why the mission of the Republican Party has changed in order to create more benefit for corporations, whereas previously the Republican Party was very much focused on the people, that they were concerned about workers, worker rights. They were concerned about equal pay for equal work. They were very concerned about Social Security, and they were concerned about unemployment benefits. And so things are different now, that they are more, it seems like more focused on servicing the corporation or the oligarchy rather than the people. And so, it's just a reality check. I've mentioned how, things have gotten so far off track that the Overton window has shifted to such an extreme point that it's unrecognizable by anything that we've seen in history. And that there's a need to reorient this party, maybe refocus. Of course, look back in history of the efforts by Abraham Lincoln, Dwight Eisenhower to put concern on the lives of people rather than corporations. And it can be done. I mean, there's work being done to do that. There's the brand new Congress that they are planning to run Republican members into the Congress to primary the corporate focused Republicans, and that they're planning to run people focused Republicans in the Congress, and that they're lining up their candidates right now. And they've named a few. There's one in Arkansas running for Congress, and that he's for single payer health care. He's for basic, common sense, populist, people focused, people centric type of issues. And it just makes common sense. And so I'm going to post all these links so you can follow up on Bernie Sanders' statements about, the Eisenhower, about the corporate tax that's not being paid today. And the fact that the jobs are not trickling down. I'm also going to post a link of, again, that people are trying to get snowed and gaslighted about, all these tax breaks to the corporations. Well, that's just to create jobs. And we're seeing that the jobs that are being created are part-time, contract, on call, temporary, with no benefits. And so it's gaslighting. You put all these together and you can see a good indication of what has occurred within the Republican Party, that they are in service to corporations. And that, even while Donald Trump ran on trade deals and, we don't want any unfair trade deals, at the same time, we have Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, hustling around, reassuring everyone overseas that, oh, yeah, we're going to do these trade deals. So, that looks like we have to kind of reorient the Republican Party. The leadership is way off track, and that there are concerns, and that apparently the brand new Congress wants to address those concerns. Bernie Sanders does too, apparently. Lots to say. And so I'll just post these links for people to contemplate. And you know what? Help us bring the Republican Party back to earth. They're needed by those who believe in the conservative appeal of the Republican Party, but they also need to remember where they came from, that they've forgotten who they used to be, who they are, and they need the reality check, and that's where you come in. Good luck.